such a great gin and tonic day. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm ready. We're
I'm
live.
salivating.
Yeah, welcome.
I know, because of the acidity and the bitterness.
We're just showing up a few minutes early so y'all can come in and take your seats.
I mean, if you want to stand, if you're like making dinner or something. Yeah,
I've been researching preschools for my 5-year-old, and I'm like, oh my gosh, academics. We're here to drink booze.
Yeah. Y'all like booze?
So welcome. We have some folks coming in to our live stream.
Hey.
You see a new face. We're going to introduce this lovely man in just a minute.
I'm like blushing.
Oh,
man.
but as
Buddy
you
right
as you're coming in, we're gonna get started at 7:30. Not 7:30.
Yeah, computer.
7:30 for our East
Yes,
Coast time.
exactly,
You know,
At the
4:30 our
30-minute
time.
mark. Yeah, let's put it that way.
My clock is showing us East Coast time, so
minute.
we're there with you guys.
Yeah.
For those of you
In
who are
spirit.
in Maryland and DC and all those other Eastern areas,
There's a few of them.
let us
Different
know where you're
markets.
from. Who are you? Who's hanging out with us today? Who has showed up to find out more about the gin and tonic? Now,
The
just
smartest of all people.
drop your name in the
Virgin,
chat.
yeah.
Let us know where you're coming from. Hey, Virgin, good to see you. Thanks for joining us.
There he is.
We were talking before the live stream about how we're curious to see how many people show up, because I think a lot of people are like, gin and tonic. I'm not going to learn anything new. It's gin and tonic.
Diane and Daniel joining in.
Hello.
Well, we have a lot to cover today.
Yeah.
And those of you who showed up to enjoy gin and tonics with us, I think are going to be very happy that you did. So, hi Dan. Hi Daniel. Hi Tom and Kara.
Yeah, from Maryland.
Yeah,
Yeah, we got Maryland.
Speaking
Nice.
of, yeah, welcome Maryland. Maryland in the house. We've just reached 7:30 in Maryland.
Columbus, Ohio.
7:30 your time. Welcome to the cocktail journey. We're talking about the gin and tonic today. If you're just joining us, then let us know who you are in the chat. Let us know where you're coming in from. Let us know what gin you're going to use today. Now,
And what tonic?
And what tonic, right? We're going to go over a couple different methods for making the gin and tonic, but I'm always curious to hear what people are bringing out of their gin space. If you have one bottle of gin in your bar, use that one. If you've got 12, tell us how did you decide which one you were going to use today for the gin and tonic? What's your favorite? Would love to know. So get your gin out,
Right.
get your tonic out.
Let's get drinking first, right?
Yeah.
This one starts pretty simple. For those of you who might be joining us for the first time on one of these live streams,
Welcome.
this is the way we do it. We're going to introduce ourselves. Hey, John. Hey, Daniel. Austin and Pittsburgh in the house. Who else is here? We are going to go over the first half, the essential gin and tonic recipe. And we're going to do that two ways. We're going to do gin with tonic water, and we're going to do gin with tonic syrup and soda water. And that'll be a fun thing. We've got two beautiful guests here today. If you've joined us before, you'll recognize Stefan, longtime bartender in San Diego, longtime kind of resident guest on the cocktail journey.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And we have a new
I
face.
live inside the bar and I just crawl out on Thursdays.
It's like Harry Potter underneath the stairs.
He was so sad that he couldn't be here for last week's live stream that he actually joined you
Joined
all on the other side of
which
this,
was a whole lot of fun.
the other side of the screen. But this guy is Brian Prugalidad. Sorry.
No, don't be. You said, you know what? That was better than my high school graduation. So, at least you have that.
We refer to him as Prugalidad because
Or P.
it's such a fun last name to say.
Yeah.
Or P Dad.
Yeah, P-Dad.
P. Diddy.
P Diddy.
I've heard that before.
He's got a fun name to say.
Like is in the sherry.
I first met Brian when he was bartending at Polite Provisions, and he, I think, made me my first Corpse Reviver, number 2, maybe?
Among the things.
Among quite a few other drinks. So I have just this lovely, warm feeling whenever I think about Brian, because he introduced me to a lot of amazing cocktails that I had never experienced before. That's part of my journey. We're so excited to have him on. Share a little bit about yourself.
Well,
not too much, because then we got to make a gin and tonic.
I know. I'm really excited to be here. I'm thrilled and I'm humbled. This past year has been really, really just crazy and unprecedented, right? Mm-hmm. So as a bartender without a bar, this is the next best thing. So thank you for having us and having me and Stefan and all of us in your homes, because it is a very special thing to be spending this time with you. And that's basically how you should feel behind the bar, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, hey, like I'm here, I'm at home, in my space. And as Rachel has said, like I worked at Polite Provisions here in San Diego. Bars won several awards. Was really, really fortunate to have worked in several award-winning bars here in San Diego. Some of the highest volume bars in the United States.
Yeah.
Ran several different programs, developed several different menus. And now I'm here with a 3-ingredient cocktail. Maybe the simplest thing we make on a live stream, but that doesn't mean it isn't incredible or transcendent.
He's
Right?
gonna bring the magic.
Right.
Like,
I mean,
trust me.
When you really boil it down, most of the best cocktails are 2 to 4 ingredients.
Right.
Just because this one has an ampersand where it's 1 and 1, doesn't mean that there isn't some nuance there, and that those 2 ingredients are both seminal in the bar industry in general. And combining them together created something magical, not just historically to allow, like the world to keep going the way it was, but
Right.
also it's a great drink. I think Rachel mentioned it earlier. It's a go-to if you're at a wedding or something and you're not really sure what the bar setup looks like. I mean, you can't really mess that up. I mean, 2 ingredients, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, there's a lot of nuance. There's a lot of different ways to make it, and we're going to discuss those. We're actually a little concerned that we weren't going to have enough time to talk about it all. So yeah, and I don't think we've ever, like off camera before we started a live stream, thought about that for any of the other cocktails we've done so far. Where we're like, I think we're going to run out of time.
For this one.
Right. Yeah, this is the one. This is the first time we've said that off camera. So without further ado, so we don't run out of time.
Right.
Brian, you want to show us how you make a traditional gin and tonic?
Absolutely. Let's get drinks in our hands, and then we can, continue the conversation. So I have my glass filled with ice. You go to your regular bar, there'll be a double rocks glass or an old-fashioned glass. Here in the house, we have this mini Collins glass. I brought some Fords, and we also have Botanist. Do you guys have a preference?
No, whichever one you want to do. You're the guest.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to use Fords gin.
So delicious.
And we're going to do 1.5 ounces straight into the glass. And a lot of these simple cocktails, we call them built cocktails because we just build them in the glass.
I think this is the first time we're doing a built cocktail in a glass. So that'd be a good thing to chat about. Is how is this different than shaking or stirring a cocktail?
Right.
It's another reason why I think a lot of people make gin and tonics at home.
And it's easier.
It's just easy.
It's easy, like it's almost as easy as cracking a beer, right? Like at the end of the day, the last thing you want is complication, right?
Yeah.
So we have 1.5 ounces, and usually 3 to 4 ounces of fill of really, really good tonic.
We're using, what do you have, Fever Tree?
Fever Tree Indian tonic, premium Indian tonic, which is like, I want to say their base flavor.
Mm-hmm.
But there's nothing basic about Fever Tree tonic. And what I'll do is I'll take a bar spoon and just integrate.
Don't have to do a lot of stirring on this one.
Not at all.
You don't want to
kinda
overstir.
Yeah,
you want to keep those bubbles in there.
Exactly. You want it.
The ingredients, right?
You want it laughing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still. And what I like to do is I like to squeeze a lime in there and then top it with another lime. So if there's not enough citrus or astringency in the cocktail for the guest, they can add more.
Smart. Spoken like a true bartender, right? Because you how many times?
Right?
Yeah, how many times have you been like, "Can you get more limes?" And you're like, "Well, just give you an extra lime."
Right.
Sure, why not?
And if you want, you can put a straw in it, and
beautiful.
there's your classic gin and
It's
tonic.
easy.
So,
It's delicious.
yeah,
That looks
easy
refreshing.
as it can be, but made with intention, it can really soothe some long days, right? So
It's a long drink, so it's super refreshing.
Cheers,
yeah,
man.
Let me give that the first taste here.
And Tom, we saw your question about using tonic syrup. We're going to get right into tonic syrup. If you're waiting to make your gin and tonic because you have tonic syrup, we're going to do that now.
Want to do that right now?
Let's do it right now. We're going to do bam, bam, tonic water, tonic syrup, and then we'll talk about some of the different things. If you have questions about things like tonic syrups, tonic waters, one of the questions I have is, what makes it an Indian tonic water versus just a regular tonic water?
I think it's just their branding. I think Fever Tree, because the gin and tonic's birth was in British India during the colonial times of the British rule of India. I think it's just their branding. Indian tonic.
I saw on, I think it was Q Tonic's Indian tonic water. The only thing I could see about that was it has maybe less tonic, like less quinine and less sugar in it.
It's quite possible.
Like, is it just a little bit more bubbles?
Yeah, probably. And
who's our tonic nerds out there?
You have like a different ratio of sugar to like acidity as well. That some people like really acidic tonic, and some people like a little bit on the sweeter side. Right. It just depends on how your palate likes to address a more bitter flavor. If you think in terms of like Amari, right? In Italy, the more bitter you put in an Amaro, the more sweetness you put in there.
Yeah, more sugar.
Right. Yeah, because that's a way to counteract the bitterness. But so is acidity. So if you do have tonic at home, we're using Jennifer Callow's Small Hand Food tonic syrup, which is really delicious. That she makes up in Oakland, California. I believe.
Make sure you already shook it, right?
No, I didn't actually. You're right. Good call.
Make sure you shake it, just because it's this beautiful, like, fresh ingredient type of cocktail, and sometimes the solids can sit a little bit.
And then we'll do 3/4 of an ounce of her tonic syrup, which is a really delicious syrup that's been acidified, that has a fair amount of cinchona bark, which is where you derive quinine from. We'll do that, and then we'll go ahead and use Botanist. Why not? We'll do 1.5 ounces of Botanist.
We've got folks using Botanist and Ford's. Ooh. Jamie said those are the same 2 gins he's using.
Nice.
Let's see.
They're both so solid and great for cocktails.
They're both great. Heyman's Old Tom gin. Ooh, someone's going Old Tom.
Old Tom, why not?
Uh-huh.
And then we're just going to top this off with as charged water as you can get. That's why we're using Topo Chico, which you can see all those beautiful bubbles forming. And then once again, we're going to want to stir this really lightly. I like to kind of, just raise the rocks up a little bit, and that'll kind of help, kind of almost like you can lift. If you have a little space, which I don't, I put this big huge nose cube on here. Lay would love this. But yeah, sometimes if you have a little space, like if this one cube wasn't here, you could just kind of do this, and that'll kind of incorporate the ingredients. You can always, you're at home, so you can touch your ice cubes as much as you want. If Brian and I were in a bar, that would obviously not really go that well. But there it is. There's our laughing gin and tonic with tonic syrup.
Do you call it laughing because of the
bubbling.
Topo and how...
Look,
it's so happy.
I usually like to taste it first before I add any extra acidity. I think it's still a little sweet, so I think I'm going to go ahead and give this a little squeeze.
So this is like, you can dial in the acid component by how much citrus you add at the end. Usually lime is the main citrus component in a gin and tonic.
The straw's not tall enough.
No, it's not.
Not going to make it.
Is that what it is, Steve? That's awesome. Indian tonic has bitter Mexican orange oils.
Ah.
There you go. Somebody's really good at reading.
Oh, thanks, Steve.
There you go. There's our second version of the gin tonic. Yeah. There was our first one with double straws. Because why not?
And you can see there's a color difference between them because of the actual, what is it?
Well, what's going on is that Jennifer in her product is using cinchona bark. And she's not using like a high micron filter to filter all that out, all that color. Whereas this like industrial, even Fever Tree and Q, they're obviously more handmade. They're still using some high quality methods to strain out all these extra like bits and solids and stuff.
But I kind of like it.
Yeah, add some color and
feels a little more homegrown. You know, we usually tend to make our gin and tonics with a tonic syrup. One of the reasons we ended up switching years ago from a tonic water to a tonic syrup, just Sean and I personally, is one, I don't feel like we had quite as much access to high quality tonic waters at the time.
Right, sure.
Not really until like the last 5 years, at least from a consumer's perspective. Right. So that was one. And what I liked about it is it allowed me to control the levels of sweet specifically. Sure, right. Because I think, I would find myself using tonic water, like regular tonic water, and then cutting it with just soda water.
Yeah. Yeah. That works
so that I could not have as much of that, like, that sweet. And I think one of you also mentioned it. There's a difference between, I can taste it, at least like my head turns like headache quality when I have a tonic water that uses corn syrup.
Right.
It's like that sugar hits your blood in a different way.
Right. Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons we recommend a higher quality tonic water that uses like real cane syrup.
Yeah, I highly recommend that too.
And you'll taste the difference. It's like cooking, right? Like the meal that you ultimately prepare is only as good as the ingredients that you use. And when it comes to a 2-3 ingredient cocktail, the better those ingredients are, the more elevated that cocktail, the end product that cocktail is going to be. You know, so like it's to have a higher like base starting point is always a good place to start.
We've got some good comments in here too. I saw one of you, let's see, who is this? Jamie is using Jack Rudy tonic syrup. So if you're using a different tonic syrup, usually there should be sort of a good ratio printed on the side. And some of these tonic syrups might like be different or have more of a cinchona bark?
Cinchona. Yeah.
I say cinchona. Like,
I kept wanting to do that. I don't know why. It might have like more quinine or some other kind of flavor profiles in it. So experiment. You can adjust your levels. If you feel like 3/4 of an ounce is too much, dial it down. That's the beauty of it.
Do you ever make tonic syrup for any of your
No.
bars? I used to. This has a lot of ingredients, actually, a bit more than I would use. I would use a little bit of cinnamon, some lime and lemon peels, citric acid, obviously, and cinchona. This uses, obviously, cinchona. There's orange peel, lemon peel. There's cinnamon. The's also some gentian extract, which is rad to add that extra amount of bitterness. Gentian is what you see kind of as a base for most amari and other bitter liqueurs. Obviously citric acid and organic cane sugar. So it's kind of cool to see it in the back of the label and what they're putting in there.
Yeah, and you know what you're getting. You know what you're putting in your body, and you know you don't get that artificial feeling. You know when you have something with corn syrup or something that's overly processed, which your body knows even if you don't read it.
So weird, right?
You guys have such a diverse selection of gins. I'm reading through the chat. We're doing
Get it?
We got Monkey 47, Aviation Gin,
That's
Hendrix, Wiggle Barrel Rested Genever.
Okay.
Genever, the original gin.
Yeah, there you go.
We had somebody who said they were doing an Old Tom. We've got Bombay Sapphire, Dead of Night West Cider Gin.
John, haven't had that one. Let's
Yeah,
scope that one
I
out.
haven't even heard of that one.
Yeah,
These are so fun.
I love it.
One of the things that I love about the gin and tonic is it's a great way to experience different kinds of gins.
It's a great like tester, you know, if you're like trying out a new gin. And for me, it would either be like a, you know,
Rum's in a daiquiri.
Right, yeah,
Exactly, rum in a
for sure,
daiquiri.
yeah, it's kind of like a good baseline. Like it's either that for me or a martini, I guess.
Right.
Like you get, like that way, it's a more like really easy basic recipe that you can be like, oh, I love this gin. It plays so well in a gin tonic.
And you're using like 1.5 ounces, so if it's not good, you don't feel bad about dumping it. You know what I mean? Getting something better.
Yeah, at least it's not 2 full ounces.
But yeah, these are your cocktails. You know, you're at home. These are your cocktails, your way. You know, it's ultimately how you enjoy it. You know, I did the classic. How, you know, if you went into any brick and mortar hole in the wall bar, that's like basically how. Except maybe they'd have a gun. You know, like tonic water on the gun and a pour spout and count one time
like
2.5,
2.5, 3,
and
you
then, like,
measure
you
1.5.
get it and squeeze it. But
at home, you could put 3 ounces in there. I mean, nobody's gonna.
Oh.
I mean, if that's what you like, we're not gonna.
Your mom's not
tell
watching.
you not to.
so we're gonna go into some variation.
You
variation.
want to talk about the history, a little bit of gin tonic.
Absolutely.
And then we're going to get into some like good variations. How do you spice up a gin and tonic? So, but basic history has to do with like malaria. So take it away, guys.
You want to? You want me to?
We can go 1-2 punch.
Let's
do it.
Okay, like so you know when Britain was and I'm sure there's quite a few who know the history of tonic water. Gin was actually used to make tonic water in India more palatable for the British palate. You know, when the British started moving en masse to India during the colonial times, thinking mid 19th century, you know, like when there was a big rush, building railroads out there, everyone started coming down with malaria. You know, mosquitoes, they weren't acclimated to the environment. So cinchona and quinine very, very good at repelling mosquitoes.
In really high doses, actually, not in the doses you're going to get from syrup.
Right.
This is a funny thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, and you know, I was reading even a lot of British expats who were in India would rather die from malaria than drink straight tonic back in the day.
Sure.
Because their palates just like couldn't take it. Mm-hmm. So what the British government did was they started a gin kind of rationing per person. Mm-hmm. So in the afternoon,
it's payment.
Right.
Yeah.
In the afternoon, they would start like, and for families, it wasn't just for military people; it was for every British citizen that was residing at first in India, and then throughout wherever the British colony was, because the sun never set on the British British Empire, right?
They did it. They were out there.
They would ration off gin to help make the tonic palatable. And so it became this afternoon ritual, gin and tonics you would take to help fight mosquitoes and malaria.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and it turned out that like once a lot of those people came back to the motherland in the UK and in the British Isles, they got really excited about that flavor, and they would start demanding it at their local bars. So the gin and tonic became more of a bar staple through that method, right? Like people just became really into that flavor profile, just like anything. Like we start thinking about a flavor, compound or profile that you like, that you had when you were younger, what have you, when you're in your best years. That's what you want to drink when you get old, to remember the good times. Right. So that's where the gin and tonic kind of came back into the bar and into the UK and into Europe, and then obviously into the newer colonies too.
It's crazy. It's like you think about wartime. Like British wartime. Gin was that way, right? Yep. Like they brought Genever back from Holland and became, gin.
Dutch courage.
Yeah, Dutch courage became Mother's Ruin in Britain. And then they take gin to India and they bring back the gin and tonic. Right. So it's like wherever the empire went and they developed this flavor for, they brought it back to, to the homeland. And
they took gin to the States.
Right.
And then we gave them gin cocktails,
right?
Like all the other cocktails, right?
Yeah.
Like everything else you can think of.
Prohibition, we left, right? Like like all the expats went to Europe, and
it's my favorite. Like it's one of my favorite ways to learn about history.
Right.
Oh yeah, the drink, like the history of drinking.
You can teach anyone history. Just find them something that they're interested in and explore history through that lens.
Right.
Yeah. So I mean, here's a case of literally drinking cocktail could save your life.
Right.
Yeah. Well explained too, buddy. That was exactly how I would have put it. Word for word, even.
Cool. All right, so let's talk about some variations.
Let's do it.
Actually, I had one quick question that I want to make sure we touch on in terms of lime selection.
Sure.
We talked about this a little bit during, I don't know which episode.
It must have been It was a limey episode.
It's probably the daiquiri.
It was the daiquiri episode.
The daiquiri.
Limey. So quickly do I forget the daiquiri episode. That was so much fun.
So
I had a couple daiquiris. I remember that.
The lime. We didn't talk a whole lot about the lime or the citrus component in here. I like a lot of lime in my gin and tonic to the point where it's like, let's do a little bit more as actually one of the cocktail components. We tend to go for. We should find out what this basic lime is called. I'm sure it has like a botanical name.
Sure.
But it's your standard lime that you'll find. It's just the most widely and commercially produced lime. You could probably use key lime if you want to give it a little twist. That would be like nice and aromatic, I think, in a certain way. Yeah. It doesn't
Kefir lime's really interesting.
Kefir limes,
I mean, if you're talking about like worldly ingredients. For lime would be really aromatic and floral.
So these don't the lime in this cocktail doesn't really do a lot, it doesn't have a lot of requirements. There's not a lot of requirement on the lime other than sort of the aromatic, the citrus, and what's your flavor.
Right.
So I would just go for it. In terms of quality of citrus, we talked a little bit about that, is if you're going to squeeze your lime, you want a nice juicy lime.
Yeah, I wouldn't grab the mealy one out of the back of your fridge. The one that you cut in half and then left in there.
Don't do that one.
After tacos.
It's like got the little
ones that aren't
crust on it.
Right. Yeah, Persian limes work great because they're really juicy and very acidic, so those work really good. My recipe for a gin and tonic at George's at level 2, the bar that I ran for a while, was actually we made our own tonic syrup. So it was pretty much what I did, but we added a 1/4 ounce of fresh lime juice on top of the tonic syrup
That's
that I already
nice.
acidified. Just so that it would look really clean. I'd serve it with a wheel. That way you wouldn't really need, the guests wouldn't really need to squeeze any extra in there. But yeah, it's really to taste. And I think that there's a lot of like very simple, very, easy, small, minute changes that you can make on this drink to make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And then I just wanted to address really quickly too that like the way that you garnish a drink like a gin and tonic, you could garnish with a lime wheel, but that's kind of messy in certain ways.
Mm-hmm.
I think the most hospitable way, in my opinion, to garnish a gin and tonic is with a wedge. Because it's just so much easier for your guests to pick it up and choose to squeeze it or not squeeze it. You give them this nice fancy lime wheel or like a dehydrated piece of lime. It's like, okay, that's just for looks.
Mm-hmm.
This is looks and function at the same time. And then just like a little bit of lime etiquette. What did you call it? The
Courtesy cut.
The courtesy cut.
Yeah.
Courtesy cut. Yeah.
So
Courtesy
just
slit.
make a little slit right there in your lime, and that makes it fit really easily over the edge of the glass. And then secondly, you'll notice that the little nubs on the end have been trimmed off. That's really nice. There's a little, it's like the nipple pith.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants that.
Nobody wants the
You
nipple
don't-
pith.
You get a little more purchase with your fingers.
Yeah, and so this gives you the ability to really grab that and squeeze, and it'll make a difference in the experience of your guests if you go that little extra step of like manicuring your limes. So you want to raise your lime game to the next level. That's what we recommend.
Yeah, I think care is like the one ingredient that people don't really take into account, but you can absolutely taste and feel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, if you're having a party, once everything opens up, like the little bits that go like that you can't see but you can feel speak volumes.
Yeah. Everybody's gonna notice it, like, subconsciously, and then you'll get the one person who's like, "Oh man, you did that little thing that really set it off." And that'll be enough. Right?
I got a question. Your gin and tonic at George's, did you salt that as well? Or
Yeah. We salted the syrup.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
Like for a little more, like a brighter note for gin and tonics. If you so choose, a pinch of salt would be great.
I think a pinch of salt in every cocktail goes a long way.
And
Any like refreshing or shaken cocktail. If it's a stirred cocktail, it's a little hard to pinch salt in there and get it to dissolve. But you can make a saline solution.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to have John Schmidt on at some point because he's just a wealth of information.
I saw
Persian
that.
lime, obviously. So this is called a Persian lime. And the kaffir limes are now known as makrut.
Right, yeah, you're
Makrut
right.
line,
Makrut.
which removes the racist aspect of the name.
Yeah.
So thank
got
you.
me.
We've got that. We're going to put that
Sure.
in a post online.
Mm-hmm.
Really nice extra tips.
Yeah, quinine. Yeah, really.
Okay, we're going to talk about tonic syrup in a minute. Let's make. Who wants another gin and tonic? You guys ready for a variation?
Let's do it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Um,
Gonna roll into the. What are you drinking?
Yeah, actually, I haven't seen you make I haven't seen you drink an
I-
absolute cocktail on this show.
What is going
What
on?
is-
I got my Topo Chico over here.
Yeah,
you
you've
know?
been drinking a lot
I'm
of
a little
Topo Chico
poster-
on this
the
live
poster
stream
child here.
for a real long time. Do you have any?
All right. Well, yeah. Brian, why don't you make me something?
I've gotcha.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Brian's gonna make me a cocktail. We're gonna take this moment
Mm-hmm.
to talk about non-alcoholic beverages. Because I'm sure that everyone who is here on your live stream has somebody in your life who either has chosen to not drink alcohol, cannot drink alcohol for whatever reason, or just doesn't like alcohol specifically. I'm currently in one of those phases, and it's going to be hard to hide it in the future because Sean knocked me up for a third time. So,
Man, that dude's fishes can swim.
there's nothing like learning about cocktails from a pregnant lady.
COVID baby.
But we're going to. Thanks, Jamie. I think it's actually a really opportune moment to talk about the cocktail ritual that we enjoy and the cocktail journey that we're all on, because there are moments where you might have to step off the alcohol side of cocktails, but it doesn't mean that you can't still enjoy the experience.
Exactly.
And that this kind of ritual doesn't still have a huge amount of value in bringing people together and celebrating and creating memorable experiences. In fact, there are quite a few people who are moving, not because they have to for a medical or like a motherhood reason, but there's a maternal reason, you know. But there are quite a few people who have chosen to either limit their alcohol intake or go sober altogether, which in our world, we never want to disparage, and we only want to encourage people's personal choices. And in fact, there are quite a few really established bartenders in the scene who make some of the best cocktails in the world and don't drink a drop of alcohol anymore.
Well, drop on their hand. That's about it, right?
Yeah, okay. They might do a straw taste, you know, make sure that they're still on point, but they've chosen to go the way of like not consuming alcohol. Let's be honest, you know, alcohol, like sugar,
I think
we love it, but
there's a whole lot more of us that are picking and choosing when to consume and when not to, or how to slow that whole process down. Right? Like there's a whole thing. There's a whole new world around lower alcohol content beverages, shims, all that stuff. So I think you're right in the same boat. Like you and I were like bartending in it every day right at the end of the last economic downturn, where everybody was kind of holding for a few years to have children, and then everybody like had a child the same year.
Yeah. Well, I had children already coming into this, so my situation, like I'm not saying mine was better or worse. It was just different. And I'll be honest, there are some times where I was not as responsible as I should have been, and I think now, like Death Cab for Cutie is one of my favorite bands, and there's a great lyric, right? It's like, if every day is a party, it's not a party anymore.
Right.
That's right.
And that's pretty much how a shift, during like, I would say the renaissance of.
Well, that was our job, was to throw a party every night.
Yeah.
It's exhausting.
It is. It's very exhausting.
And you can get in there's actually a lot of fantastic education in the bartending space, especially in the industry, about like how to build in health rituals and watch out, because there's a risk of like potentially going too far with alcohol.
I mean,
we've
I think these last 5 years we've lost a lot of.
We've lost a lot
of
too many friends, too many peers.
To demons and like alcohol could be a good way to hide them, but they at the end of the day it just exacerbates things for a lot of different people, I would say.
Which is one of the things we love about engaging in intentional cocktail craft.
Right.
Because when you are approaching this spirit as something that can help you celebrate and enjoy life and enhance your experience, then this is only a good thing.
Yeah, you're consuming far less if you're consuming like composed cocktails and really appreciating them, as opposed to like how fast can I knock something down.
There have been times when it's like gin and glass, or you can get out your jigger and you can measure your gin, you can add some tonic water, and you can have an intentional cocktail. You'll probably end up drinking less gin at the end of the night.
Yeah. Right. But even so, with like our non-alcoholic options, it doesn't preclude us from not taking part in breaking bread, right?
That's right.
I mean, it's all about the ritual and sharing moments with each other,
for sure.
And so what I did, and it's a great.
So Brian's taking care of me tonight.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
I'll be taking care of her in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we all take care of each other, right? Like, I mean, and this goes for any other like spirit that you want to. So we're substitute out if you're not drinking booze. I take tea. I take 4 ounces of hot water and 2 tea bags. So I do like an extra concentrated tea, and I use 2 ounces of that in the cocktail. And you know what? This is the amazing part about this. It's like the tea is up to you. So I did 3 different teas. I did a chamomile tea, a ginger lemon, and a vanilla chai. And we're gonna make. Let's do the ginger. We'll do the ginger lemon with this beautiful. I think is this.
It's just soda.
This is just soda.
Yeah.
There's an elderflower.
Yeah, let's try that one.
It's amazing.
I think this is a really cool idea that Brian did. Right, is instead of replacing a spirit like a spirit that has a whole lot of flavor, right, like a gin.
All those
with
botanicals,
water, replacing it with a botanically aromatic tea makes a huge difference, and you won't lose as much of the flavor. You also, because it's it's a tea, you're not going to lose as much of the mouthfeel either that you would.
Yeah.
Because there's a little bit more, weight.
Viscosity in that. I did an ounce and a half, but I'm doing 2 ounces.
Smart.
Because like it's great, right?
Gotcha.
Yep. I see some of you did dry January. I participated with you as well.
She also did dry February
and
dry March.
And April. And I'll say that this elderflower, I discovered elderflower tonic water. And that has been what I've been drinking on the show, actually, is like just elderflower tonic water with some ice. It adds that nice little floral component. But I'm really excited to try something with Brian's idea of the tea. We talked about it this week, and I've been looking forward to it.
I just came back from Chattanooga last week, and my friend's mother didn't really drink, but my friend's never had a proper whiskey sour.
The whiskey sour.
Yeah, we in 4 days we went through 3 1.75 liter bottles of Maker's Mark.
There's a time, you guys.
There's a time. I mean,
there's a time for that, Jamie. There's a time for Jaeger bombs.
Hey, talk to me about Jaeger. Oh yeah. Talk to me about Jaeger.
You remember, Sean, the Jaeger bomb period of our life?
No.
No? Oh no, I'm sorry. It was called the Mind Eraser.
That's great.
Yeah, that's a different.
This is different. Oh my goodness.
But like that vanilla chai would be awesome instead of a bourbon. So you want a whiskey sour, or you want to do like a not penicillin.
Yeah,
be really great. But so like I said, we did elderflower tonic with this, a ginger lemon tea that was double brewed, two bags to 4 ounces of hot water, and a lemon wheel.
Thank
for
you.
Our expecting host and
hostess with the mostest.
It's delicious.
There you go.
I like the ginger.
Yeah.
The ginger and the elderflower together are
But
really
see,
nice.
but then it's ultimately up to you, right? Like if you like chamomile better, if you want to do like a green tea syrup with like a yuzu, they make yuzu tonic would be awesome, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So those combinations are endless, really, like depending on what you're in the mood for, and I mean,
it's a brilliant idea.
You can really like. There's almost too many choices when it comes to tea.
Yeah, when it comes to tea.
When it comes to tea.
Yeah. You just go to an Asian market and you're just like, what the
So one of the things we're gonna do, since I'm not gonna stop doing these, is that we're going to do a non-alcoholic version of every cocktail every week.
The third ones are going to be interesting.
It's going to be fun.
Like Boulevardier, good luck. Good luck, Brandon Curry.
Okay, so it's not going to be necessarily a version, but it could be.
Though.
I think
could be
chai tea would be awesome.
We're going to need to get
option,
liars in here and seedlip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd be
so there are some non-alcoholic beverage products out there that we might also start using, but I think that if it's a non-alcoholic drink is not going to be the same representation as like especially a very spirit-forward cocktail. But that doesn't mean that you can't offer an option to folks who maybe are abstaining from alcohol for a period of time.
Totally.
I remember reading a story of somebody on Facebook who said, like, she's decided not to drink, and that was just her personal choice. And when she shows up at a wedding and asks for something non-alcoholic, they point her to the kiddie cooler where there's juice and soda. And she's like, I want a fancy cocktail just like everyone else.
Right.
Why does it not have alcohol in it?
Right.
So,
and if you're, once the bars, come back online, they make their own house syrups and stuff. And you can have a whole lot of fun with everything that's like in their bar, right? Like a good bartender will be able to take all these ingredients that they've made, and have batched and turn that into something really tasty.
And when you focus on the hospitality experience, it's almost like the alcohol component doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you came up to the bar and was like, hey, I'm expecting, so I'm going to, I'm going to be abstaining, but Sean will have a cocktail for me, and then you order something, that's non-alcoholic. If that bartender treats that like any other moment, it's just like as if you ordered a Negroni. We're going to give you something really tasty. Sit down. Here's some water. Here's the menu. All that stuff, and then make you something tasty. Like that is huge. I mean, it's when they make it a big deal. Like, oh, here we go. Gonna make some, stupid, non-alcoholic cocktail. That's when like the air like comes out of the sails for me. Like it's all like you're coming in there to be taken care of, and to,
That's the definition
have
of
the hospitality. Yeah.
All right, so that's not the end of the episode.
No, yeah, we still have one more that's gonna blow your
Like
mind.
we said, we told you we were worried about running out of time.
And it's 8:07.
We only got
East Coast time.
East Coast time. We've got
Oh shoot, I'm late for dinner.
we've got our for whatever reason our clock is on East Coast time today, so we're with you all in there. We're with you, Diane.
Man, I gotta get to bed. I got a long day tomorrow.
Yeah, so we are going to talk about the Spanish Gin Tonic, which I'm really excited about. It's got a great history, and it's a totally different gin and tonic experience.
Mm-hmm.
You may have had one of these at a bar when sometimes I think some of the craft cocktail bars were getting into it as a way to fancy up a gin and tonic. I mean, talk about fancy. I would love, Brian, tell us a little bit about what you're going to be doing. Because it's amazing.
So like we were talking about, so there's no real like specific date or time frame of the prominence of the Spanish gin and tonic, I would say. But in Spain, gin and tonics rule, right? They're like
they're the only cocktail that
there's
they
gin
can
bars,
serve.
right? There's gin bars, and then like they serve gin and tonics with the different gins. And so the old wives' tale of how the Spanish gin and tonic came to be is that chefs love to drink. They do. We love to eat, love to drink. And when the executive chef would come out to the bar and order a gin and tonic, they would take it back to the kitchen. And with whatever ingredient they were working with at the moment, they would pop into their glass. Like as Stefan said, like they would walk out after a dinner service while everyone was enjoying their meal. And it became like one of those moments where the guests were like, what is Chef drinking? I'd like to buy Chef a drink. What's he drinking? Mm-hmm. Oh, he's drinking gin and tonic, but that gin and tonic doesn't look like mine. Mm-hmm. I want what Chef is drinking. So,
yeah, I mean, they've like tried to nail it down to like a couple of kind of more celebrity chefs in Spain.
Yeah.
To where it was like, well, before service you're tasting wine, right? And they're like working on the wine service and what will be paired with the dish that evening. Mm-hmm. And the wine glass is sitting there over the night,
Right.
They get a gin and tonic, they dump that in there, and they start adding aromatic herbs in there while they're, on the pass, right? Like checking their food and make sure it comes out well. And then at the end of the meal, they're going out to the table and, hey, how's your meal? You enjoying everything? Oh, great, good, awesome. And everybody's like, dang, that looks amazing. I want one of those. And it became this huge explosion in Spain. And then obviously it kind of started filtering out to the Spanish-speaking parts of the world, like Mexico and Central and South America. And it's slowly making more of its way in the States as a way to offer, kind of like another aperitif cocktail, I would say, like before dinner. Anything gin and bubbly is great to have before a meal. It really gets you excited about all the flavors you might be tasting.
Sure, your palate salivating.
Yeah.
And in Romance countries, I think the wine glass is the vessel of choice. I know in Baja, Mexico, a lot of chefs enjoy their beer in wine glasses as well. There's something about having this concentration of the glass. Your nose goes straight in, so you smell, whatever you smell, you taste, and you smell before you taste. So
that's the magic of the Spanish gin and tonic, the glass and the aromatic herbs.
Right. So with the regular gin and tonic that we did prior, great ingredients, great gin, great tonic, but then there's 3 other components that are essential to have a Spanish gin and tonic. You've got to have your citrus. I saw someone quoted lemon. I know in Britain, lemon was as opposed to lime. Lemon.
Well, lime doesn't grow in Britain.
So lemon is the original. I prefer lemon. Yep. If you think of citrus, lemon for acidity and lime for flavor, right? So I really like acidic, astringent cocktails. You need herbs. It can be mint. I brought rosemary in. It can be thyme, and then you need a spice component, which can be pink peppercorn. Mm-hmm. Aromatic bitters work, and then I also brought star anise because your eyes eat first, right? You want a beautiful cocktail once it comes to the table, even if it's just a gin and tonic.
Yeah, right? And that's what people think, right? I think the first time somebody was like, "Oh, you should try Spanish style gin and tonic," and I'm like, "It's just gin and tonic with some junk in the glass," and then you like put it to your nose, and you're like, "What is going on right now?" This is
intention, right? It's the intention of making something that you're showing someone how much you care about them, right? Like and the cocktail is the vessel. So we're gonna do the same thing. 1.5 ounces of our botanist gin here. I believe Steph was grabbing my tonic because I forgot to grab the tonic while I was icing down my glass.
We like to keep that tonic cold, you know.
Sous chef.
That is.
There you are, chef.
Thank you.
You don't want that stuff sitting out and getting warm.
About halfway. It's 4 ounces. We're gonna give that another stir. Integrate the cocktail, maybe just a little bit more. A little laughter.
I like all this happy reference to the bubbles.
Yeah, you like it's before it goes stale, right? Before.
Yeah.
So I like to do both. I'll do a zest for the aromatics first, and then I'll put a slice in there. And just me, but like as I said, these are your cocktails, your home, your cocktail, your way. If I were making this for someone, this is how I would do it. Then just set that aside. And then here are our components, right? We have our lemon wheel. Got a little bit of this thyme, or rosemary, I mean.
You're giving it a little bit of a
little press,
gentle press.
Gentle press.
Yep.
A lot of people like to
that's
smack their stuff or like over muddle it. Herbs are really delicate. It doesn't take much coaxing to get those oils out.
You can even just kind of like lightly press,
right
against the glass.
If it were in a bar, that's what I would do. If we were dealing with cash, you just don't know where people's hands.
Give a little presentation.
Smart, right?
Smart. Oh, I thought you said give a little presentation.
No.
Well, that too, but no.
No, but like once you handle money, because it's so dirty.
Yeah. Right.
Last thing I want to do is get like the grubby smell of cash on delicate mint.
Right.
And so I have a star anise.
Man, there you go.
A lot of people use pink peppercorn, which is awesome too.
I've also used cucumber in the past.
Cucumber's awesome. Yeah.
Very fragrant.
We'll try it this way, and then we'll add a couple drops of bitters to change the color, give it a little bit more depth, and even at the end of it, I think a pinch of salt would be awesome. Yeah, you can. If you want
but
to.
you really need to get your nose in there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
And just the look of it, you bring that to a table, someone's gonna go, yeah.
I want that gin.
Right.
It's crazy how much different that tastes because your olfactory senses are activated.
Mm-hmm. So I would think about this in two ways. I know we've got a lot of foodie people that are also into cocktails, and so a lot of you are really interested in like food and cocktails. And so think about that, like, what are you making for dinner tonight?
Mm-hmm.
And what are those flavors? Are you using fresh rosemary in your roasted chicken or whatever it is that you're doing? Are you doing sage because you're making pork? Throw some of that in there. So think about this as a pre-dinner cocktail.
Just classic.
A pre-dinner cocktail that can give your guests or your loved one like a little hint at what's coming in terms of how you're orienting. The other way is, I think we have, I don't remember if it was Tanya or someone else, who said that they make this kind of cocktail all the time. It's just like you put a couple of ingredients together, and then she likes to just go out into her garden.
Nice.
And just pick whatever's fresh, pick whatever's fancy, like her fancy right now, and then use that and throw that in. I think thyme would be, thyme is just, I love that in cocktails. Very fragrant. And then you can begin to think about how that plays with different gins.
And different tonics.
And the different botanicals in different gins too, as well as the tonic. So there's so much you can do with a gin and tonic. When you think about the different gins, I put in the chat earlier, I was talking about the Southwestern gin from Old Harbor.
Yep.
And how that has very different, it uses all of our local botanicals here.
Yeah.
It has cilantro in it.
It's coriander, yeah.
Or is it coriander?
Well, which is the seed of the
cilantro, right.
But yeah, so it's really vibrant.
Throw me for a loop.
Yeah. No, it's super vibrant and very San Diego.
It's very San Diego.
Like a San Diego taco shop vibe, but in a really lovely way. Because there's local coastal sage in there. It just smells like where, if you were to go out here on the coast and go on a little hike, in Torrey Pines or something. It's the terroir of San Diego for sure.
So think about mixing up your gins, mixing up your tonic waters, and then Getting
highly
really
recommend
creative.
next time you're like sitting down and you're going
Cabbage
to
and turnip.
next time you're planning to cook a meal either for you and your loved one or when you can have more dinner parties at home. I highly recommend making everyone Spanish style gin and tonic before dinner. It really does set the mood. It's one of the seminal aperitivo cocktails, in my opinion. Not one that people think of, right? You think of like Negroni, you think of Spritz,
Americano,
which is in the ballpark, right? It is kind of a Spritz, only it's way more aromatic and it absolutely is more culinary inspired.
And as with the gin and tonic, it can be as simple or as complicated as you want. Right. I mean, as complicated as we say this was, it wasn't.
No.
Right? It was gin and tonic. We just threw some rosemary, lemon, and a little bit of star anise in there, and it changed the complexion totally. I mean, like the skeleton of the gin and tonic is still there, but now it's a little more fleshed out. So.
Yeah.
It's super elevated. A cocktail drinker is going to love this.
You have to.
A gin and tonic drinker is still going to love this. A non-gin, you can impress people who don't like gin or tonic with something like that. If you can get them in the right mood and the right mindset for a meal, right? Like, just crush this, and then we're going to switch over to a really delicious, wine, whatever. You can just get them really excited about it.
I'm going to smell it.
Yeah. And
It's like we were talking about. We
like,
were talking about the Garibaldi with people who don't like Campari loving that drink. It even has like 2 ounces, 1.5, 2 ounces of Campari.
You know me, I like those
it's
savory
non-gin
cocktails.
drinkers will still appreciate that.
Yeah, and
orange works great, Steve. Yeah, like if you like orange, it all boils down to what you enjoy. Really, there's cocktails are cocktails. At the end of the day, it's just booze.
Yep.
And it all boils down to what you prefer. And if you have a bartender that tells you you're not supposed to like that, then that's
find another bartender.
Yeah, go find a bar where you feel at home.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, it really should be like going into a home.
Yeah.
That bartender spends enough time there. It is their home, But they should be wanting to welcome you in, not like try to shoo you out.
So we're about all that. Yes, bitters is a great way to play around with adding flavor and different kinds of expressions to your gin and tonic. And I can't believe that we've made it like 50 minutes through this live stream and haven't mentioned like you can make a vodka tonic.
Yeah. What? Yeah, of course you can. You can make a coffee tonic.
You can make a coffee tonic.
Maybe we should.
Espresso and tonic. Well, we've made enough tonics tonight.
I don't know. I have someone in my family who just really does not like the taste of juniper, and I think that's common for people.
Tequila tonic is delicious.
And so mix up your spirit base too. I think that one of the things I love about the idea of the Spanish style tonic is that you're adding so many good flavor components and some of those botanicals that would actually work really well with people who maybe prefer vodka, or if you ran out of gin, which happens at our bar all the time.
It's
can
actually
totally
weird because there's a lot of similarities between like modern tonics and gins, modern gins, that can almost feel like overkill. So sometimes you can pull back all that extra herbaceousness by using something like vodka, tonic, or tequila, or espresso, or a coffee liqueur, something like that. You can tone back on all those very similar flavors and let the tonic really shine more if you use an alternative, spirit.
And you can, I think you can, this is a phrase that Sean and I coined when we were making art together. You can have too much of a good thing. Like you can have too many good ideas. This is what we say. You go, like if I were to put in front of you like the Old Harbor Southwestern style gin, which has a lot of it is not a mild gin. It's got a lot of amazing flavor components. And I threw an elderflower tonic
or
water,
like the Mediterranean,
and I put all these spices in there.
Yeah.
Like it's just going to be, it's too many good ideas at the same time. And so you want to think about balancing those. If you're going to go really complex with one kind of flavor profile, like using a really, really, really botanical kind of gin, then you might just want to go with a simple tonic water to complement it.
Yeah,
or
and
vice
you
versa.
think about that. Like if you do like what this offers, Spanish style gin and tonic, think about there's a couple of Spanish gins out in the market now, and they're very light on juniper. They're still there, and it's still pronounced, right? You still taste it. It's a gin, but they're more about the aromatics, and they're more about the herbs in there that are like more soft and complementary to the tonics.
Delicate.
Exactly. And a lot of their tonics that they make specifically for Spanish style gin and tonics are a little less on the quinine, a little less on the bitter. They're a bit more floral as well. So you can think in that terms as well. maybe choosing, if you don't like the really overpowering flavor of like a Christmas tree quality, like London Dry, and a really heavily quinine tonic, then yeah, you can scale those back. Maybe you just don't like too much of all that, and having a bit more nuance is really important too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Jamie observed that some tonics have juniper in them too.
Which I don't understand why. That makes no sense, because I mean most people are going to pair their tonic with gin. And that's just that, I mean, it works, I guess, if you know better, right? You know that's got a bunch of juniper in there. Then now you can use that with tequila or vodka or that's another flavor.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Aquavit and tonic.
John went
That's
out
delicious.
and got some rosemary from his garden, and he said he loves the rosemary in the tonic.
That's my jam too.
Jamie's gonna do it. Todd grabbed a lemon from his tree.
Okay.
Talk about fresh citrus, you
Well,
guys.
awesome.
I'm jealous.
Like, from a garnish perspective, rosemary is easy to it's easy to pull out, for me, and you want to give the guest the choice, like I've had enough rosemary, I can just take it out. The garnishes are easy to take away. But to your point, of like heavy and heavy, right? Like
Right.
we make cocktails like we're painting, right? So you need positive and negative space. There needs to be breath in the cocktail, because if it's just like
hitting you over the head.
If it's heavy, you're just like, I'll have a high life instead.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
There's a reason why the
And a
high
shot
life
of
is freaking
alcohol,
delicious. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
they're not shooting you over the head with anything.
Yeah, right. So you just have to have like cocktails need to breathe. There needs to be balance, right? There's got to be, high, like the positive and negative, highs and lows. And that's how, I think
there's got to be balance.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about with bitter and sweet, right? Or boozy and sweet, or whatever it might be. It's all about balance. And what works for your palate, right? Because everybody has a different one. So I highly recommend, if you like a good gin and tonic, try a few different tonics.
Absolutely.
Try a few different gins. You're going to eventually stumble upon some sort of perfect marriage for both.
Yeah. We've got a lot of rosemary in
you
the
think
house
about it, right?
today.
Like what's the most expensive component of the cocktail? It's the gin, right? So everything else the garnish, right? The tonic, the citrus, you can mix and match all of those in endless, combinations. Have the same gin, but have a different gin and tonic from glass to glass. So that's exciting.
Fun idea, gin and tonic bar.
Mm-hmm.
So you can also, have sort of a whole bunch of ingredients. You can do the dice roll idea.
John, bar tonic.
Yeah, I've seen a bar tonic. I love it.
Yeah.
I have definitely been to a wedding where they've done a gin and tonic bar, and that was like my favorite. Like
It's so fun.
Bar at a wedding, because everybody got real communal. There was everything was on ice. It was a hot day. It was perfect.
You can come and just pick your botanicals that you want. How do you want to spice up your gin?
It's perfect too, because both those ingredients aren't super pricey. They didn't have to staff up 3 bartenders.
Yeah, and there's no choice, right? It's like, hey, when presented with too many choices, it's hard to choose, right?
Yep.
Like if you have a gin and tonic, and you can tailor it to how you enjoy it, like the ingredient. I like lemon.
Yep.
I like this. I like mint. I like that. Perfect. You have your own tailor-made gin and tonic.
Yeah, I came back at the end after dessert, and it was just a bunch of beautiful mezcal out, with a bunch of rocks glasses. And I was like, wait, what?
What
it's
happened here?
help yourself to this high-end mezcal. I was like, great.
Perfect.
It's great.
And then
I'm stealing both those ideas for my wedding.
the other thing, and we touched on it very quickly, is you can make your own tonic syrup at home. You had a couple of key points about that, though, that you wanted to touch on.
Sure, yeah. I mean, too much cinchona is really not healthy for you. It's definitely poison.
It's dangerous.
There's a reason why it's a good cure for malaria, is that the insects that will carry that carry malaria are also it's not good for them. I'm just slapping my. It's not good for them either. That's the reason why they won't bite you and end up getting malaria, is that they don't like the flavor of the toxin. So yeah, you want to be careful. Generally, this is pretty dark. I would advise not making your tonic this dark. Obviously, Jennifer's got some equipment that she's able to test the quinine level. You probably don't. So if you see a recipe out there in the world that tells you to use X amount of cinchona bark powder, I would knock it down a bit from there. Just something to keep in mind. You're probably not going to make enough gin and tonics to even come close to hurting yourself, but you can poison yourself. So be careful on that. And then it really is about making a syrup that is balanced, right? You don't want it to be too sweet, but it needs to be sweet enough to, to really enjoy the cocktail. So, sweet, watch yourself on how much cinchona bark you're putting in there. And then acidity, make sure you grab some citric acid, maybe even some malic acid to balance out the sweetness with that acidic quality. Mm-hmm. And then have fun, right? You can use you can use lemon peels and lime peels in the boil, right? And to boil out some of those oils. And you can also add a little bit of cinnamon, like a stick of cinnamon in there. You don't want to overpower it. You don't want it to taste like a Christmas drink. Mm-hmm. But, you can make it a little bit more complex.
Yeah,
that's how
I saw someone. I think I was at a bar one time and they had like a house-made rhubarb tonic syrup.
Sure, yeah, that's delicious when you add like a couple stalks of rhubarb in there and cook it down.
That's the thing here is that because the tonic water and the tonic syrup are what add the sweet component. If you really like sweet cocktails, you could add another kind of syrup or something to it, but that might be overly sweet. But if you wanted to like get really fancy, I'm talking to you, John Schmid. I'm curious if anyone's made their own tonic water before or tonic syrups before. But that would be an area if you really wanted to play. And I would say too, Stefan, if somebody's going to the lengths of making their own tonic syrup, they're probably gonna drink a lot of gin and tonics with it.
Hell yeah.
It's got to be a go-to.
Why would
just
you
make
make
sure.
it have it sit in the back of your fridge? But you're still not going to, because there's alcohol and there's only so many of those you can drink at night, you're more than likely not going to poison yourself.
Not in one day.
Yeah, but I would still, I think I've seen a lot of recipes out there that, for me personally, I think it's a bit too much cinchona bark. Yeah. And if you're looking where you can purchase those things, you can just type in cinchona bark into a Google search engine. You'd be really good. There's a lot of great spice companies, like high quality spice companies that'll sell cinchona bark, both based here on the West Coast and the East Coast.
What'd you make here, Brian?
This is another non-alcoholic, because your glass is getting low.
Oh, thank you.
This one I did vanilla chai, with regular, but
you can smell it. It smells good.
It smells really good.
I'm doing a lemon peel, and then I'm going to use that rosemary in there too. So,
all right.
Boom.
So, like you. As you've seen today, look at that, the lemon wrapped around the rosemary. It's like giving it a hug. It's happy and it's hugging.
Eyes eat first, always. So
you'll have no idea that we literally brought the ringer of all ringers in for the gin and tonic episode. This guy's an absolute.
We'll have Brian
I've
back.
watched a lot of YouTube videos on how it
wow.
You can learn a lot on YouTube these days.
I watched,
That's great.
I just,
I had just learned how to one up my non-alcoholic gin and tonics instead of just doing,
tonic water,
tonic and bitters and lime or tonic and lime. Replacing the same equal parts from the gin side. Well, it was a little bit more,
a little heavier.
On the tea. Yeah. With a tea, the vanilla and the chai in here is absolutely amazing.
Right.
Tonic syrup can last a long time.
I would also dosage that. I always use the word dosage. I would also add just like 3/4 to an ounce of vodka to the tonic syrup. It'll actually help it stabilize even further.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
The longer it sits in your fridge, the more the acid will burn off. So if it's a bit older, then you can just brighten it up by squeezing a little fresh citrus in there. But it will absolutely last a lot longer than an open bottle of tonic in your fridge, right? You lose the bubbles after day one. It's a great way to always have gin and tonics at the ready. You don't have to make sure you have a 6-pack of tonic water in your fridge. You can just pack it with soda water.
Mm-hmm. All right, you guys, we are at time.
Wow.
Like I said,
yeah, right. Told you. Yeah,
I told you we were going to run out of time. It was going to be amazing. John says he's made tonic syrup before, but he doesn't bother now that Small Hand Foods is available.
So good.
Yeah,
that's kind of where I'm at.
If someone does it that well.
If you don't have it at your local store, you can order it online. Check out Jack Rudy as well as, I think, Tonic Syrups. There are a few other brands that are making it.
Shout out Collins and Coop.
Yes.
Collins and Coop sells. Yep, there you go. Our local folks here, they sell tonic syrups, and they will ship it to your door. They also sell some beautiful vintage glassware. Note this lovely Collins glass.
A lot of the glassware you see around here comes from Collins and Coop, actually, and they ship.
Mm-hmm. And they ship, so go check them out. Camper English has a blog. It's a great resource, John. Camper also wrote a book called G&T.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy it. It's
funny.
great.
The whole book is actually about Amaro sours, right? Dope,
when
right?
we do
It's
that.
about
when are we
gin
doing
tonic.
that?
It's
Am I
coming
coming
back.
back?
Yeah, you gotta come back for the Amaro
Come
Sour.
back for Amaro Sour.
All right, you heard it here first. He's coming back for the Amaro Sour, which
Dude,
is
Amaro
So
gin
good.
fizzes or what, dude?
Yeah,
Yeah. There's a lot. We're gonna form the Gin and Tonic Club, and so we can continue
Get
this
t-shirts
conversation in our future Discord channel. But for those of you who are interested in next week, we're doing the Boulevardier. We're gonna have Brandon Curry back on, who was with us on the Negroni episode.
Negroni Jabroni right there.
So the Boulevardier is a beautiful cocktail that is kind of a variation of the Negroni, and we'll talk about some extra stuff there. Come join us next week. We'll have another big announcement for you soon, as if tonight's was not big enough.
That's pretty big tonight, I feel like. I'm going to celebrate that tonight.
Just celebrate that. That's why we're not doing two big announcements in one night.
Thank God.
So tune in again. We'll see y'all next week. Enjoy your gin and tonics. Go raid your garden. Go raid your neighbor's garden.
Yeah.
Go on a walk and find out who's
Do it.
growing rosemary. Like,
Yeah.
there's an
There's
apartment
lots of
building.
fresh jasmine right
Citrus.
now out here in California. That
Yeah.
makes a great aromatic, too.
Go have fun. Go play. And we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Thank
Thank
y'all.
you. Thank you so much.
Congrats to Rachel.
Woo! This is amazing, by the way.
Yeah, that's really tasty. That, like,
I'm not sharing.
I'm telling you that
the
that's
Fine.
vanilla goes